Good day to everyone tuning in. It is officially December the 23rd, 2025. Roughly 3 days ago, the history of our entire solar system, and perhaps our fundamental understanding of our specific place within it, shifted in a way that we are only just beginning to truly comprehend. We are currently sitting at 72 hours past the closest approach of the interstellar object formerly designated as 3I Atlas, which is also known in the catalogs as C2225N1. On December 19th, this mysterious visitor originating from the deep void skimmed past Earth at a specific distance of approximately 270 million kilometers. In standard astronomical terms, that is considered a safe distance, a comfortable buffer zone that should have resulted in nothing more than a few blurry telescopic images and a routine catalog of spectral data. But as we now know, that is not what happened. Instead, as the object reached its perihelion relative to our planet, our own planetary systems began to sing a completely different song. We are currently looking at a data set that defies the standard models of cometary interaction, and the implications are frankly unsettling. Let's look significantly closer at the data coming in from independent monitoring stations located across the globe. Normally, when a comet passes, we look up. We train our optical and radio telescopes on the sky to catch the volatile gases sublimating off the nucleus. But this time, the most startling anomaly wasn't found in the blackness of space, but right here in the electromagnetic cavity of our own atmosphere. I want to draw your attention to a detailed report that surfaced almost immediately after the closest approach, originating from a dedicated enthusiast known in the community as All-Day Astronom. This wasn't a standard visual observation. It was a reading of the Schumann resonance. For those of you who follow our deep dives into geophysics, you know that the Schumann resonance is effectively the heartbeat of Earth. It is a set of spectrum peaks in the extremely low frequency portion of the Earth's electromagnetic field spectrum. These are standing waves generated and maintained in the cavity formed by the Earth's surface and the ionosphere. The fundamental frequency of this heartbeat is a steady, reliable 7.83 hertz. It has been that way since life first crawled out of the oceans. It is the background hum of our biosphere. However, at the precise moment 3I Atlas brushed past our neighborhood, that heartbeat spiked. The data shows a distinct high-amplitude signal locking in at exactly 25 hertz. This is not a harmonic we usually see. It is not a fluctuation caused by a standard lightning storm or solar wind interaction. It is a sharp, artificial-looking peak that appeared out of the noise and persisted. So, what does this actually mean? If you are looking at the spectrograms we are projecting now, you can see the baseline at 7.83 hertz, the faint harmonics at 14 and 20 hertz, and then this massive unexplained tower of energy at 25 hertz. The timing is the critical factor here. The coincidence of this event with the comet's passage appears non-random. In science, we are trained to be skeptical of coincidence, to look for the hidden variable that connects two seemingly unrelated events. But here, the variable is staring us in the face. An interstellar object with anomalous properties passes by, and our planet's electromagnetic field reacts. Before we go further into the implications of this signal, if you want to stay updated on this rapidly evolving situation as we analyze the data coming in from the Jupiter approach in the coming months, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We are tracking this object day by day, and you won't want to miss the analysis of the trajectory data we have just received. Now back to the 25 hertz anomaly. The appearance of a 25 hertz frequency lacks obvious terrestrial explanations. We have checked global lightning activity databases. We have looked at HAARP transmission logs. We have even looked at tectonic precursors. Nothing fits. The signal is too clean, too sustained. This contradicts what we previously thought about the isolation of Earth's magnetosphere from passing non-magnetic bodies. A standard ball of ice and rock, a dirty snowball, as we used to call comets, should not induce a resonance shift in the planetary cavity from 270 million kilometers away. The physics just aren't there. Unless, of course, the object is not just a ball of ice and rock. This brings us to the uncomfortable territory of active interaction. Proponents of the hypothesis about the object's artificial origin suggest that the changes could have been caused by its activity. If 3I Atlas is emitting a field, or a communication beam, or a propulsion exhaust that interacts with the ionosphere, a 25 Hz resonance could be a side effect, a harmonic resonance of a much higher energy output. The impact of such changes on the biosphere and geophysical processes remains poorly studied, giving rise to various speculations. We know that biological systems are sensitive to electromagnetic fields. There are studies linking fluctuations in the Schumann resonance to human mental states, to cardiac rhythms, and even to seismic activity. While no definitive conclusions have been reached on this matter, the anecdotal reports of headaches, anxiety, and strange animal behavior on December 19th are flooding social media. We have to be careful not to conflate correlation with causation, but the sheer volume of reports is statistically significant. If the 25 Hz signal is real, and if it is connected to the comet, we are dealing with an interaction that goes beyond gravity and reflected sunlight. We are dealing with a systemic interface. However, we must also play the devil's advocate. If the object is an ordinary comet, explaining the appearance of this specific signal becomes difficult, and the coincidence may be purely random. It is possible that we are seeing a statistical fluke, a rare atmospheric event that just happened to align with the perihelion. Mainstream science examines this data within the framework of studying the natural behavior of comets, particularly such unusual ones arriving from beyond the solar system. They argue that we simply don't have a large enough sample size of interstellar comets to know what their electromagnetic signatures look like. Perhaps 3I Atlas is highly charged. Perhaps it is dragging a massive plasma tail that we can't see in the visible spectrum, and that tail brushed against our magnetosphere. These are valid scientific questions, but they don't feel like the whole answer. Here is the crucial detail that makes the random coincidence theory harder to swallow. The signal didn't just turn on and off, it pulsed. It had a structure, and that structure seems to mirror the physical behavior of the object itself. As we analyze the signal logs, we are seeing a periodicity that matches the rotational dynamics of 3I Atlas. This suggests a coupling. It suggests that whatever is happening on the surface of that object is being felt here on Earth. It is as if the object is broadcasting its presence or perhaps its internal state. The 25 Hz frequency is in the beta wave range of human brain activity, associated with active thinking and focus. That is likely just a poetic coincidence. But in the context of the techno-signature debate, it is fuel for the fire. We are left with a stark dichotomy. On one hand, we have the conservative view. A rare comet and a rare atmospheric anomaly occurred simultaneously. On the other, the radical view, an artificial object passed by and pinged our planet, intentionally or as a byproduct of its operation. To decide which is more likely, we have to look beyond the Earth. We have to look at the object itself. Because while Earth was humming at 25 Hz, 3I Atlas was doing something even more inexplicable. It was changing its rhythm. Reports are emerging about changes in the characteristics of the celestial body itself, specifically its rotation. And this isn't just a minor wobble. It is a shift that suggests a massive release of energy or a deliberate maneuver. As we move to the next part of our investigation, we need to ask, why did the heartbeat of the comet change at the exact moment it touched Earth? The answer might lie in the physics of a spin that shouldn't be possible. Getty images. As we established in the previous segment, the electromagnetic anomaly on Earth was not an isolated event. It was a symptom of a much larger interaction. While our magnetosphere was ringing at 25 Hz, the object itself, 3I Atlas, was undergoing a physical transformation that has astronomers scrambling to rewrite their models. We are talking about the most fundamental characteristic of any celestial body, its spin. Every asteroid, every comet, every planet has a rhythm, a rotation period that is usually as consistent as a clock. For 3I Atlas, that rhythm was established early on. Weeks of observation had pinned its pulsation period, the time it takes to complete one full rotation and vary its brightness, at approximately 16 hours. It was a steady, predictable beat until December 19th. According to information from an international group of astronomers, the period of the 3I Atlas object changed from approximately 16.16 hours to 15.48 hours at the moment of its closest approach to Earth. Let's look closer at the data because the magnitude of this shift is staggering. We are talking about a reduction of nearly 41 minutes in a matter of hours. To spin up a massive object, an object estimated to be kilometers in diameter, requires a tremendous amount of energy. In classical mechanics, angular momentum is conserved. You don't just start spinning faster unless you shed mass or apply a torque. This contradicts what we previously thought about the stability of this object. A standard comet can change its spin, yes. As ice sublimates and jets of gas shoot out, they can act like thrusters, pushing the nucleus and altering its rotation. This is the rocket effect. But for a comet to spin up by this amount, in this short a window, would require an outgassing event of cataclysmic proportions. We should have seen a massive coma, a brightening that would have made it visible to the naked eye. We didn't. The brightness curve remained relatively stable even as the spin accelerated. So what does this actually mean? If it wasn't a natural jet of gas, what pushed 3I Atlas? This is where the conversation shifts from cometary physics to something far more speculative. Astrophysicist Avi Loeb from the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, known for supporting the possibility of artificial origins for interstellar objects, has previously suggested that periodic changes could be the result of hypothetical engines used for course correction. Loeb's argument is based on the idea that if you eliminate the impossible, natural outgassing without a coma, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. I want to pause here and hear your thoughts. Do you think this spin acceleration is just a freak natural occurrence we don't understand yet? Or is Avi Loeb onto something with the engine hypothesis? Drop a comment below. I'm reading through them as we go, and the debate is already heating up. Now let's return to the natural explanation, because mainstream science examines this data within the framework of studying the natural behavior of comets, particularly such unusual ones arriving from beyond the solar system. The counter-argument to Loeb is that 3I Atlas might be composed of exotic materials. We know it came from another star system. Perhaps its ice is not water or CO2, but something with a different sublimation point, something that creates invisible jets. Or perhaps the object is fragmenting internally, shifting its center of mass and causing a pirouette effect, much like a figure skater pulling in their arms. But even the most conservative models are struggling to fit the data points. The torque required to shave 40 minutes off a 16-hour day is immense. If this was a natural event, it was a violent one. Yet the object remains intact. It hasn't broken apart. It hasn't formed a debris field. It just sped up. Here is the crucial detail that links this back to the Schumann resonance, the timing. The spin-up happened exactly at the closest approach to Earth. If this were a random outgassing event, it could have happened at perihelion to the Sun or at any point in its journey. But it happened when it was nearest to us. This synchronization is what fuels the probe hypothesis. If you were an automated probe passing a planet of interest, you might execute a maneuver to scan it or to transmit data. That maneuver might require a change in orientation, hence the spin change. And that transmission might leak energy into the local environment, hence the 25 Hertz signal. The pieces fit together disturbingly well. But there is another layer to this mystery. If the object is spinning faster, the centrifugal forces on its surface are increasing. Any loose material, any dust or rocks should be flung off into space. We should see a dust ring forming, and we do see a ring, but it is not the kind of ring anyone expected. It is not a messy cloud of debris. It is sharp, precise, and glowing. And in the center of that ring, where the nucleus should be, there is nothing. Or rather, something so dark it looks like nothing. This brings us to the most visual and perhaps the most terrifying piece of evidence we have gathered so far. The spin paradox is just the setup. The real anomaly is what that spin is hiding. As we process the high-resolution images taken during this spin-up event, we are seeing a structure that defies the very definition of a comet. It is not a dirty